control. Gravity is all that I know. She's over me. She's over me. She comes with her hypnotic dance. She holds me here with only a glance. She's over me. She's over me. The claws in my heart, I can't let go, I'm breaking apart, controlling me, controlling me. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our Wednesday live stream here on the Paranormal Portal, and I am thrilled you guys are here with us. I'm absolutely stoked. It's a few minutes late getting started here, but we had a little bit of a scheduling issue come up, and our guest for tonight, Shell Dion, was not able to make it. Not sure what exactly came up, but we hope everything's okay. That kind of stuff happens, so we had to throw together a show at the last minute. But that's pretty much normal here on the portal, so it's ideal. But before I go any further, let me welcome my good friend and co-host, Mr. Don Longbeard, to the show.
Hola, hey everyone. Oh, hold on. Okay, wow, that was
So I'm sorry, I got to close Skype.
That's okay.
That's not gonna work. I can't be getting calls.
So what's happening?
Nothing much is happening for me. What's happening with you?
Hump Day Eve.
Hump Day's Eve.
Yes, it's very Hump Day Eve. Yay!
It is, but we made it, and you're halfway through the work week, everybody, so congratulations. It's all downhill from here. So I hope you're doing great, and I hope you've had a good week thus far.
Absolutely.
And I don't know, the weather's changing, brother.
It is.
It's getting colder outside.
Yeah, I had to shut the windows and throw that extra blanket on last night. It was kind of crazy.
You need a snuggle?
I've got a big pillow for that.
I understand completely. But we are live here, ladies and gentlemen. This is live and unrehearsed, and clearly it's unrehearsed because that's the way we roll here on the portal. Right, yeah. Well, that's as pro as we get here, but we have fun doing it, and we're glad you guys are joining us. And I'm just absolutely thrilled to be here and doing the show. And I had something pulled up that I was going to share with you guys, but turns out I closed that window by accident, so I got to pull it up here in just a second.
Look at that.
So Don, what's going on in your world?
You know, so I mentioned I got ran into over by the McDonald's parking lot. I took the pickup in, and sure enough, my axle's bent. So
it is. Oh no.
Yeah.
What does that mean then? Is that like a big thing?
No, well, it's less than $400 actually.
Oh, good, good. Okay, well that's not so bad. You did say there was a little shimmy in the beard mobile. So
beard mobile, nice.
So
I just got re-tagged.
Oh, I just went dead. I'm not sure why I went dead. Or you went dead. Never mind. It wasn't me. It was you.
It's me again.
Okay. You want to fix that?
Yeah.
Sorry, ladies and gentlemen, that's Don's beard, which gets in the way of his microphone. We think it creates its own static charge and overloads the microphone periodically. Are you ready to try?
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, there you are.
I think it has something to do with like electricity, static electricity from my beard being transferred through the pop filter into the microphone. So that
Right.
might be it, yeah.
That might be it.
It's that
I'm not sure.
etheric power, you know.
I'm not sure what it is, but what do you do here on the portal? Everything's possible. It's all paranormal here. And I would just like to share this really heartwarming message that I was able to find from the Aether Archives group on MeWe.
Yeah.
Which,
yeah.
if you haven't heard of MeWe, ladies and gentlemen, it's kind of like another option to Facebook that's not so much Big Brother, and it's they kind of let you do what you want to do, which is really nice.
Really do what you want to do.
So I mean, I mean, it's not creepy or anything, but
some of it is.
But this is one of our listeners. Tonight's episode is brought to you by Lady Death. She left us a little message, and I want to share it with you guys. So here we go. One more time, ladies and gentlemen. It's so awesome. That is her impression of Axl Rose, I think. And I love it. Thank you, Lady D, for letting me share that on the air. That was awesome. And it made me smile. And right now I need all kinds of smiles because that's just how I roll. But we are cooking the night away, ladies and gentlemen. And we, like I said, I don't know what came up, but something got in the way of tonight's scheduling. So we'll just roll with it and do the best we know how to do. And we've put together another show for you. Tentatively, we have anyway. I'm still kind of throwing it together as we go, but
we're ready to roll.
We're ready to roll. All right.
We're professionals. So
what we're going to do is just talk about paranormal encounters around the world, which is just a fancy way of saying ghost stories. Because you know, and I know we do a lot of ghost stories here on the portal, and one of the ways I know that is because I went through and sorted out all of our YouTube archives of every episode we've done, and certainly the playlists. I've created playlists for every topic. So if you go to youtube.com/paranormalportal, which is how you're listening to us now, but you'll see a bunch of playlists. And the ghosts/spirits playlist by far has the most content. And that stands to reason, I think, because, of course, you know, not everybody can relate to some of these other paranormal occurrences that go on. Not everybody's interested in Bigfoot. Not everybody's interested in cryptids.
Right.
Not everybody's interested or has room in their life for the idea of UFOs and aliens. And, you know, we do have some, I did a psychic playlist as well, which features all of the episodes where we were joined by our great friend and Paranormal Portal psychic, Mrs. Deborah Varner. So all of her reading shows are on there, which were phenomenal and wonderful. And let's see, we got the Bigfoot cryptids, UFOs, aliens. We've got the psychic. We've got Unexplained, which features some of the shows with like Brooks Agnew on it,
right,
where he talks about a lot of the science behind the paranormal, which is really cool, and the possibilities and probabilities and just amazing stuff. So,
Pixie wants to know where black-eyed children were filed.
I think I put that in the Unexplained as well, because it's not really a ghostly phenomenon. It may be spiritual, but it's one of those things that's kind of a throw-up. What are black-eyed kids? Are they an actual being that is a multidimensional, or are they totally spiritual? Well, when people encounter them, they encounter them as absolutely solid apparitions, if they are spiritual. They look like they're there in 3D space and taking up space physically. They don't look at all transparent. So I put them in the Unexplained category. So if you're looking for the black-eyed kids, you'll find them there. And black-eyed beans are in there as well.
Oh, jeez. and Julia just said that. It just popped on the screen, and it's like you read it.
Woo.
And I know you're not looking at it.
I'm not looking at that. I'm looking at
Julia.
a whole other page.
Thank you.
That's what you call synchronicity.
Synchronicity,
Julie and I are sharing a hive of mind as it works. So we got that going for us. But let's get into some of these stories. Now, you know, again, as I was stating before, ghosts are something that pretty much everybody can relate to on some level. Even if it's just entertainment purposes, everybody gets a charge out of a ghost story. You know, I mean, there's the spinning yarns around campfires of old ghosts and stuff is as old as our society. and these legends and lores that have been handed down for, thousands of years, having to do with spirits and the beyond. So I think of all of the topics of the paranormal, it stands to reason that ghosts are something that most people can relate to. Would you agree with that, Tom?
I would but it's not just that. I don't think it's necessarily has to be relatable, especially around the campfire, because that's the time to tell those and get that shiver. I don't think it has to be specifically ghosts, but
right.
It's just that shiver time.
Absolutely. Yep. Absolutely.
Channel Zero kind of stuff. Yeah, shiver time.
Showtime. So anyway, that's what tonight's show is going to be about. Is just some more exploration into these accounts and encounters of ghosts and such. And let me see. I got to look. I'm not going to read them tonight, but I think we have. If you've got a ghost story of your own or a paranormal story of your own, please feel free to email it to us at paranormalportalradio@gmail.com.
Yep.
We would really appreciate it. It's a lot of fun for us to share these stories. I'm just looking now into it, and we do have a couple. Let's see. We got another one from Summerlid.
Oh, nice.
I don't know if maybe Mellow J. Crow sent one. So, yeah, we've got some to read on Friday, which will be really fun as well. So, but if you are tuning in to hear Shell Dion, I'm sure we'll reschedule with her very soon. We'll get this all worked out, and hopefully everything will be straightened out. But we are rolling. So here's the first one. Let's see. I don't know. This one sounds weird, but I love the title, so I got to read it. It's called Back to the Cemetery, Please.
Oh, boy.
This is from the U.S. It comes from Washington State.
Oh.
Actually, oh my gosh, very recently. As of August.
Yeah.
Near my home is a huge, old, lovely cemetery. Big trees provide shade over beautifully carved headstones. Many of them have military and Masonic symbols, and the oldest dates of decease are from the 1910s. It is a nice, quiet place to be. During the day, is open for the public. I used to take my two Boxer dogs there and go respectfully all around. I like to read all the names and the dates and imagine who lies under the stones. I did not grow up in this area, but some of the names are the same as those of local streets and such, so I imagine those were the best families in their day. I'm not frightened of cemeteries at all. What happened there does not make for a scary story, but it scared me nonetheless. I found a marker which read "Died in France," and it listed the World War I unit of the deceased. Call me a sentimental fool, but right there I said out loud, my uncle fought in same unit World War II and died in Belgium.
Wow.
And now he watches over me. I wonder, is your soul in France where you fell, or did you return to whoever put this gravestone here to honor you? Then the two dogs and I meandered through the rest of the cemetery. We walked home through the humdrum summer sunset. The weirdness started after dinner at home. When put outside to do their business, my older dog, Felix, kept barking at the house wall below my bedroom window. Then she kept barking inside at the same place, fussing and whining below the bedroom window. Each time I checked, no one was outside. This kept up for several days. The other dog, Layla, carried on totally normally, no barking, no staring, or whining. Then Felix actually started digging a hole outside there below the window. He is not a digger dog, so I figured this was a varmint in or under the wall, since she kept fixating on that spot. I examined the whole wall, inside and out, and found nothing to show where mice or bugs were invading. I couldn't hear anything either, and you may know that vermin nesting in the walls eventually make noise when they think the coast is clear. Yuck. After almost a week of Felix barking at the wall and trying to dig below it, I yelled at her to stop, in frustration. She looked at me with that reprimanding way dogs do when they are right and you are wrong. I was sick of her nonsense and told her so. Yes, I talk to my dogs like people. I pushed all the dirt back with my foot again as if that would stop her from digging. When we got back inside, Felix headed right back to the bedroom and went to start staring and whining at the wall. I was going to holler. She was making me crazy. Then I noticed a penny on the floor, placed exactly beside where she had been digging at outside. I picked it up and dropped it in my front flower bed. I was more than a little freaked out by this. I'm not someone who wants any sign or needs confirmation of spirits. I use sage and salt with proper offerings and blessings to protect my home. Who left that penny there? Until this point in my life, I thought of ghosties leaving dimes as utter nonsense, especially since I have only heard of it from daytime TV. Excuse me. All week outside, Felix kept barking and digging below the same spot of the wall, or staring at it from the inside. Twice more I found pennies in the exact same place, inside, beneath the wall, heater up against the wall. I removed them from the house. It seemed clear that someone was there. I was afraid to acknowledge how bad the pennies scared me. Were they inside or outside or both? I lived alone, and it was also nerve-wracking to have one dog keep asserting like someone was lurking outside my bedroom window. The other dog showed no interest in Felix's obsession. At the suggestion of a friend, early one evening, I stood by where Felix was trying to dig and spoke out loud. My intentions were to head up to that gorgeous cemetery on the hill. I made sure to say that everyone there was heading back with me and how nice it is. I brought the dogs and went along the same route we had taken coming home last time. When we got to the grounds, I wandered around saying something along the lines of, "The light of the goddess is stronger than my light. So if you must follow someone, find God's light," and made it clear that my dogs and I were leaving the cemetery alone. We did, as far as I could tell. Who knows for sure? I welcome any thoughts or comments on this whole strange episode. So, very cool. Now, the one thing I gotta wonder is, why do they leave pennies or dimes? Can't they find bucks?
Yeah, no doubt.
Start leaving cash. I'll take 20s.
I'd like to have a sugar apparition.
No kidding, huh?
Yeah,
but that's
no
a
doubt.
very cool story, and wonderful way to wrap it up. That person definitely knows what they're doing and has a very strong sense of spiritual etiquette, for lack of a better term, I guess. You know, you gotta talk to them. 99% of the time, you can resolve hauntings and issues like this with just some direct conversation. Like, I don't mind if you're here, but these are my expectations, A, B, C, D, E. Or, I don't want you here, and I need you to go somewhere else, please. And, in respect, could you not bother me and my family? I mean, all of those are okay. And if done respectfully, most spirits are not gonna push that issue. They're not gonna keep pushing and trying to insert themselves. And if they do, then they're probably not a good spirit anyway. So, just some thoughts and some good base advice, I think. So, did Lady D like her soundbite?
Yeah, she laughed. She says I was just a little too. She didn't wait long enough, and part of it got cut off.
She's always welcome to record another one. I'll be happy to play another one. That was so cute. I don't know. Just things like that. I get a kick out of it. So did you have something you wanted to read, brother?
Sure. Maybe I could read a story, and maybe you could turn on the ghost box.
Oh, that's a good call. Good call.
Thank you. I have good ideas every now and then.
You do. There's a reason you sit in that chair, brother.
Because somebody's got to keep it from flying around the room because of the poltergeists.
Yeah, there is that, I guess.
All right, so this one is called The Little Girl Who Wasn't. I lived in a house from hell for 4 years, from age 11 to almost 16. There was a constant something happening. Doors.
And that's turning on.
Wow.
That's always creepy. Sorry. They're a little theatrical with their build.
Doors flying open and shut, voices and footsteps. Nothing ever stayed where you put it. I was alone there a lot because both my parents worked, and I was constantly terrified. One of the most gut-level disturbing things, though, was a little girl in my bathroom. Every time I walked past the bathroom door, which was constantly since it was right outside my bedroom, I saw a little girl with blonde curled hair and a rose-colored dress. She just stood there, staring like a photograph from 1905. I wonder why she picked 1905. I started keeping the door closed so I could walk by without seeing her, but she was there when I opened it. Once I stepped in past her, I couldn't see her anymore, but I could feel her there. She scared me, but I felt really sorry for her because she was trapped there, just like me, probably forever.
Ooh.
As the years went by and things in the house continued to get worse, she started seeming darker. I started feeling like she wasn't really a little girl. I knew there was something ugly in the house and that I felt it was presenting this sympathetic image to me when I started to think I was completely losing my mind. One day when I was 14, I had a friend from out of town come stay with us for a week. I hadn't told her anything whatsoever about the house because I didn't think she would come if I did. Right after she got there, we were sitting in my room. She left to go to the bathroom. About a minute later, she walked back in with a puzzled look on her face and said, "So there's a little girl in your bathroom?" Yeah. She hangs out there. Blonde hair? Curls? Pink dress? Yeah. You know what? That's not really a little girl, don't you? I almost threw up. I was so relieved and terrified and excited and ready to run out of the house screaming. She wouldn't use my bathroom for the rest of the week. And I started using it as little as possible without ticking off my parents, who did not want to believe. Eventually we moved out and I could not have been happier. I distanced myself from it mentally as much as I could. Then, when I was 18, I took another friend on a road trip to pack up a few things that I'd left at the house. My parents hadn't managed to sell it and wouldn't for 5 more years. The minute we got to the property, my friend seemed uncomfortable. When we came around the bend in the long, steep driveway, he went completely white. I could tell something was wrong, but he insisted he was okay, so we got to work. After a while, he asked to use the bathroom, and I directed him to mine. Not 20 seconds after he left, he came running back in, gasping for breath, and slammed the bathroom door behind him. He started babbling about a little blonde girl who wasn't really a little girl. All of a sudden, he went dead still, looked me in the eye, and very solemnly said, "She's not happy with you."
Ooh.
You left, and you weren't supposed to.
Thanks.
We threw whatever we could grab into 2 trips in my car after I walked him to another bathroom and waited outside the door. And then we just got out of there at top speed. Crazy.
It's okay, cray.
She got some blonde, cute little blonde curls and a little rose-colored dress. And she's not a baby.
not probably.
And
now,
that falls right into what you always say. They're malignant spirits, preying on the
I think it's probably possible that there are child spirits. And the reason that I have that belief at all is because someone, like Deb, who I love and respect, has told me that there are. Okay. So I have room in my belief system to say, yeah, there could be. I don't know how they could end up getting stuck and trapped. To me, that doesn't make any sense. But then again, I guess there's a lot about it that does make sense. However, I firmly believe that 90+% of kid ghosts are not kid ghosts. Yeah, and I defer to my explanation that I think that it's just a ploy to get people to open up and just, I want to help.
Right.
Come to me, I'll save you. And that's like, in go the hooks and the oppression begins.
Yeah,
so,
no doubt.
It's just a quick way to possession or oppression, and it's unfortunate. But if you look at nature, I mean,
yeah,
the one thing predators are is efficient, and that is the most efficient way to prey on people is to appear helpless or like a child.
Right.
So that's
interesting.
I don't know, just my 2 cents. And
hey, I just noticed that Brian finally joined us tonight.
Oh, it's about time he showed up.
Now,
I guess you just got to wish him a happy birthday every once in a while.
Yeah, happy birthday. Is it your birthday, Brian? How old are you, 22?
Happy birthday, Brian. I hope you had a great day, brother. It's Brian Gaska's birthday, ladies and gentlemen. So if you're in the YouTube chat room, wish him a happy birthday for us.
It's the only way they can hear us.
Well, I mean,
they're just not chatting.
This episode will repeat. There's the ability people can watch it after now. But if you're here watching it live, of course, I mean, you can wish Brent.
Live is the best way. Yeah.
I think so, because it allows you to be a part of what we're doing now, ladies and gentlemen. If you're seeing, the phone line obviously won't work tonight.
Nope.
This is a Wednesday stream, so don't try to call in. But
unless you're going to complain.
Yeah, this is the Wednesday night complaint line is listed on your screen. So I suppose I should find something else to read, shouldn't I? Yeah.
Well, I got another one. You want me to read another one?
Yeah.
Are you just not ready? That's okay.
I'm just, it's one of those things that, I don't know what it is, but you
had your night thrown out of whack.
Well, it did, and it just caused everything to be like, oh no, we got to throw together a show like right now.
Right.
And of course, we can do that, and we've done it other times before. Every once in a while. That's the hard part about having guests is real life happens.
Right.
You can't. Setting up a time is great. What the hell's going on?
Not me. Oh, is there something coming on through the box? No.
No, it's not. I gotta shut off. I
Okay.
don't know why this is happening. Okay, tell me this, Don.
What's that?
YouTube is not, Facebook is not open on this computer, but for some reason, I am always notified of Facebook on this computer, even though it's not open. How the hell does that work?
I don't know.
I don't know either. I don't know, but and it's again getting back to what I was saying. It's certainly nobody's fault. It's just things just fall apart sometimes,
right.
And so it becomes important to put it back together.
Right.
So,
right.
But please go ahead.
Oh, sure. Losing yourself in China. So when I was barely 20 years old, I was traveling with a small group of people through China. That would be fun. And we were spending about 2 months in Quezon province, which used to be part of Tibet. Our destination was a specific town to teach English, but we'd been stopping often in towns and small cities along the way. One day we arrived in a rural town, very small, nothing unusual. We spent only a couple of days there shopping for food at the markets and walking around and seeing the sights, although there weren't many. This was in the dead of winter in February, and all of the grass on the hills and plains around the town was dead and brown. The overall feeling was that of the normal kind of bleakness that any rural place has in the winter. At this time in my life, things were going amazingly, extraordinarily well for me, and I say that because my teenagehood had been rather darkly overcast. But the overwhelming good luck of being able to travel and these close friends I'd made in the last year had more than changed my feelings and attitudes towards life. It was like I was a whole new person. I was ecstatic to be in Tibet. Went to sleep with a smile on my face every night. Our second day staying in this small town, I woke up feeling a bit odd. Not bad, just odd. Like my normal thoughts and feelings had been turned down low, like on a dial. We all decided to go for a walk on the hills right behind the town, where there was a small summit with a pile of rocks and some prayer flags. To be honest, there were little altars like these on every other hill. But it gave us something to do. As we hiked up the hill behind the town, I started feeling stranger and stranger. I wasn't scared and I didn't feel anything or any strong emotions. In fact, it was like emotion was trickling out of me somehow, and I was getting blanker and blanker, emptier and emptier. My mind started feeling a little hazy, and more I felt like I simply didn't care about anything. A small and rapidly dwindling part of me started to panic, knew that something bad was happening, but it was like my own inner voice was slowly getting quieter and quieter. I remember we reached the little summit and simply sank to the ground next to the pile of rocks. Without meaning to, I started tuning out the voices around me and fixed all of my attention on the little pebbles of dirt. I began tapping one against the other repeatedly. Do you know what kind of horror that is? Do you know the kind of horror that is opposite of feeling scared or feeling anything at all? The kind of vacuous hideousness of a fly buzzing around against a closed window for hours on end in an empty room. That's what was filling my mind. It was demonic in its meaninglessness. I touched my face and felt that I was grinning at nothing. Through all the emptiness, the thought floated to the forefront of my mind. You should just die. At first it sounded totally reasonable, but something in me fought it, and I was momentarily troubled. Right then, my group started to walk down from the hill, and I followed. The further we walked, the more normal I felt, until we left the town that afternoon, and I was totally freaked out. When another girl, Hannah, mentioned in an offhand sort of way that she had felt very strange and depressed while staying there, I told her that I had felt the same. When the group leader mentioned that the locals had told him that the town had been plagued with a rash of young women under 25 committing suicide,
Ooh.
Hannah and I went white.
Eesh.
Wow.
That's horrible.
Yeah, that's
Yikes.
crazy.
That is terribly crazy. That's terribly crazy.
Just so you know, Pixie, we don't name the chat the complaint line. It's just the complaint line.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I got another quick story here. So this one is coming out of the United Kingdom. This is from 2007.
Nice.
So a little bit ago. It's hard to believe that 2007 is so long ago now. Oh, God.
That's like we were talking about, cleaning up our computers and all the stuff we find
yeah.
from way back when. You're like, this is like from 2005. I can't get rid of it.
I know.
Crazy.
Oh, God. I got piles of CDs with garbage on them, too. And it's just like, why am I keeping this garbage? But it's just pieces of life, I guess. So anyway, this is called the Archery's Forest Haunting. So me and my mate Casey were out for our regular hangout place, the Archery's, a place with a park and a dark forest on the right. We were out at the park, and Casey really needed the toilet. The quickest way home was through the forest, and we had never gone through this way because of the scary stories that go around, and me and Casey were nervous. Well, when we were halfway home, in the darkest bit of the forest, we heard a rustle close by. We both turned to look, but nothing was there, so we carried on walking, and when we heard the sound of a twig snapping, this time I looked all around and into a bush. When I turned around again, Casey was gone.
Wow.
I was so scared to be on my own, but more scared for Casey. Where did she go? Who had taken her? I started running, looking behind me, and then when I ran through something like a cold patch of air, I looked around and saw Casey, face white and looking terrified. I looked to the right and saw it. A ghost. We ran all the way home and haven't forgotten that horrid day.
How horrid can that be that you ran through a cold spot and saw a ghost?
Well, I don't know.
Did it touch Casey? Did it infiltrate your mind?
Mm.
What was so scary about seeing it? What
I
could
think the idea
conceivably
of
be something pareidolia?
Well, you should be able to recognize whether you're seeing a ghost or not. In front of you, pareidolia is great for like leaves and clouds and things like that where you see faces appear.
Right, but if you've got it in your head and you're going out there, this is scary, you're going to see something.
That's maybe. I can tell you that as a kid, I was plenty scared several times and never saw anything.
Oh, true. Yeah.
But I guess, it is suggestibility.
Okay.
But seeing a ghost when you're, I imagine they were kids, maybe less than 15. So I think seeing a ghost when I was 15 would probably really have caused me some serious trauma. I'm just saying. I don't know. But you're right. It is suggestible, and you certainly can program yourself to have encounters. There's no question about that. I kind of like these forest stories. Let's do another one.
You know what? I think I'm going to try that tonight. I'm going to try and program myself to have some kind of an encounter.
You want a paranormal encounter?
You know what? It would answer so many questions, wouldn't it?
Okay, well, we can certainly get you in situations where you should.
No, I don't. We've been talking about going to cemeteries forever.
I know.
And standing out on the corner of my road.
See, the problem is we need a really good video camera for that to happen, because, we could certainly go out there and do it, but I want to go out there with the idea of documenting it.
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm.
And if we don't have any way to document it and share it with our audience, it's just. It's great to say, hey, we went and hung out at a cemetery, and guess what? We saw this stuff.
Yeah, but you'll never see it because we took the crappiest camera we have, or we forgot it. We forgot it. Yeah,
it didn't work in the dark like we'd hoped. So, so the point is that we have to get the equipment in order to have the kind of investigations that I want us to have, and that's something we're certainly working on, ladies and gentlemen. If you want to help us support our cause and get something phenomenal for yourself, head over to Paranormal Portal Radio. .com and seriously, that's
you can get one of these.
Some of these sites around and pages and God bless them. I appreciate that people are just looking for help doing what they love, And they just say, hey, donate. Well, I don't want people just to donate. I want people to get something for, their willingness to support what we're doing. So I don't do the, the PayPal me thing or the other ways that people peddle for cash. I'm not disparaging them. That's cool. But to me,
if you guys want to give us $20 each, I'm cool with that.
I'd rather you walked away with a T-shirt or something, that I can get to you for an investment from you.
Right.
I just feel better about that. That you're getting something rather than just floating cash. That to me just feels like I'm panhandling, and I just can't do that.
Right.
So that's just me. That's my own personal hang-up, and I'm not meaning to disparage anybody that does that on their channels. God bless you. I wish I was more like you, but I just feel like people should have something to walk away with if they're willing to help support the show. So head over to paranormalportalradio.com and look at what we have. If you're thinking of supporting the portal, then I can send you something, and we both win, I hope. So. And
we're working on getting a couple other things, because I'd sure like to have a beanie. But yes. A beanie would require
like a beret,
a beanie. No, just
a
stalking cop.
Right.
Beanie. Just a beanie. But that would require embroidery.
Right.
So that would be a different way we'd have to go, but we'll figure it out.
We'll get that sorted. But what we have is up there currently. I've got a few other things that I've made prototypes of that I want to introduce on there as well. But I don't know. I get too scatterbrained, and I don't make enough progress on any one thing. But that's my own personal hang-up. So this next one is called Forest Encounter. Just sticking with this forest theme because I think it's cool. And this comes from this year, actually, February of this year, from Italy. My grandparents used to rent a house in a little mountain village for 3 months in the summer. And I used to go up there every summer since I was 5 until I was 14 with my sister, which is 7 years older than me. My cousin, which is 3 years younger than me. I really liked my time there, so when I grew older, this passion for the mountains stuck with me. I'm now 26, and every summer I go hiking with my boyfriend. The trails we used to hike are sometimes very stiff, and it's just the two of us surrounded by the mountain and the silence that covers everything. Sometimes we even camp halfway if we climb up too long. One day we were climbing a difficult one near a lake in Italy, and I finished first, so I was waiting for my boyfriend at the end of the path. At the top of that mountain, it was beautiful there. Butterflies flew on the flowers around me, and birds were chirping happily. I could see the whole lake surrounded by the forest. I like to sit in the silence of the mountain and watch the stunning view of the lake and watch the animals around me living their lives. It's relaxing. I was sitting there on a rock, and I don't know how, but I felt something was in the woods behind me. Behind me there was a precipice, not very deep though, and the forest would cover the end of it and all around. I stood up and tried to see if there was something down there. That's when I saw it. And I get shivers when I even think about it. Deep down there was a chamois, Chamois, a beautiful one with long horns. Can you look up what a chamois is?
Spell that again.
Chamois. I imagine it's a deer or something.
No, I think it's a type of...
What?
Spell that again.
Chamois.
I came up as chamois.
Okay,
a super
chamois.
chamois. But, an agile goat antelope with short hooked horns. Okay.
Right. A beautiful one with long horns. I got excited because I rarely see one. I was looking at him from behind. His fur was light brown, and he had a black line that went from the neck to the tail. But something was very wrong with it, and that's when I froze. His front legs looked like they didn't end with a normal cloven hoof, but he had 3 fingers at the end with his front legs similar to a bird claw, but not that sharp. The back legs seemed normal, and I could see it because he was walking very slowly and calmly through the vegetation. Then I noticed with great horror that his face seemed flat, no muzzle. I couldn't look at him directly in the face, but I couldn't see his forehead and nose. What should have been there, it wasn't. Thinking about it now, I really wished I had seen his face just to see how the eyes and mouth were organized. He disappeared in the pine section, and I was still there, shocked, when my boyfriend finally arrived. I told him what I saw, and he didn't believe me, and he laughed. I know it's not scary, and it can even be funny, but if you think about it, a chamois or chamois, however you say it, with eagle leg and flat face, I thought about it all the time when we were descending. It was so weird. At the end, I told myself I must have dreamed it, even if I would love to know that I wasn't the only one to see the thing. I like to think it was a deity that took the form of a chamois. Or chamois, I guess that's pronunciation. I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen. There wasn't any village at the mountain's feet, so I couldn't ask if somebody saw that too, or if someone knew anything about the weird animal living in the forest. I think you just got a really big gift, personally. I think that it probably was some sort of, I don't know about deity, but a protector of the forest.
Pan.
Yeah, kind of like a pan, that kind of, satyr, or
satyr.
Some kind of centaurish kind of creature. I don't know. Very wild, because it almost sounds like a griffin kind of thing. It's like two different animals mashed up, but very cool. I would just count myself incredibly lucky to see something like that. There are stories of stuff like that out there. Like, for instance, somebody in Japan was walking through a deep forest path and met an old white, just totally like albino kind of person who was sitting there, was nice, talked to them, and then when they turned back, the person was just gone. But he looked like this ancient being.
Right.
And I was just thinking, oh my God, that would be so cool. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. But, well, it is me, but but you know what I'm saying.
Of course it is.
So, anyway, very cool. Now, this one is different. I want to see what this one is. I'm just looking through the possibilities here. Because we're just going on the fly, ladies and gentlemen, because that's how we roll here on the portal. We are on the fly. And nothing's going on in the ghost detector, Don.
No, that sucks.
It's been real quiet. Well, that sucks. You want another lap dance?
No, because I don't want to have to do a refund. That's just retarded.
All right, this is called Encounter with a Scaly-Skinned Entity. This is actually from July of this year. From India, though. Oh, these are tough. And the reason I say that, ladies and gentlemen, is not because I have any disdain for India, but the stories are very culturally based, and it's hard sometimes to know what the hell they're talking about. Just like a chamois from Italy. I didn't know what that was. But we all learn together. So
There you go.
we are worldly here on the portal. A few months back, I had a spooky experience at my hostel in the city of Lucknow, India. It's called Lucknow? They got a city called Lucknow?
I need to go.
I know, right?
I need to get some.
We need to book a trip. I had two roommates, one of which was my cousin's sister, and the other was a senior in her 4th year of college. Before I start my story, I would like to tell you that often a house lizard would come into our room. Because my sister and I were super scared, ma'am, senior, I guess that's the name of the senior from college, would have to shoo it away. A few days before my experience, my cousin went home for a few days. So me and ma'am, it's like M-A apostrophe A-M, ma'am, is all I can think, were the only people in our room. Also, me and my sister had our beds kept close together, whereas ma'am's bed was on the other end of the room. One night I had a weird dream, and I don't remember, but I was feeling lost and exhausted while sleeping. Suddenly I woke up to a really loud sound, which is hard to explain, but it was something like a loud shh, followed by a dolphin-like chirpy sound. House lizards also make a similar sound. These two sounds were repeating themselves, one after another, and were exceptionally loud. I was confused where was the source and thinking every person should be awake by now at such a loud sound. Suddenly my eyes went up to the right of the room, and I saw a very thin figure standing by the window facing ma'am's bed. It was standing sideways and was lean. The figure was really tall, and the little light through the window had hit its chest, and the abdomen region showed a blue-gray scale-like skin. It was unsettling, but my initial instinct was it must be ma'am. I called the figure ma'am a few times and asked it, "Are you shooing the lizard away?" Assuming the sound to be the shooing sound and chirpy sound to be that of a lizard. I kept asking it for a few seconds before my eyes looked at ma'am's bed and I saw her feet. There were tables and other stuff blocking a clear sight of her bed, so while laying down in my bed, I could only see the end of her bed. The realization hit me that she's sound asleep. To confirm, I rose a little higher and saw her asleep. As I realized this, the figure started disappearing. It got lighter and was gone within seconds. The sound that was continuing also disappeared along with the disappearance of the figure. The sound disappeared just like a bird sound is louder when close and fades away when the bird flies further away. But that sound faded away much quicker than a bird's would. With the next few minutes, I lay frozen like a dead body. I couldn't feel my heartbeat and breathing at all. I knew I had encountered a being from a realm unknown, but I knew nothing what it was or what it was doing. I was wondering if I was dead because I really felt no heartbeat and no breathing in me. In 5 or 10 minutes, I checked my phone and the time was around 4 a.m. I had college the next day, so I went back to sleep. But even today, I keep wondering what it was, and I am desperate to find answers to my confusion. So I don't know. Again, those are strange things, but manifestations should, I would think, resonate to the person's culture. You know, like for instance, when we were doing those evidence reviews down.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Remember the Thailand, the little girl that would be following the tag along. It was called the tag along, and they always had like a red dress on.
Yeah.
Tattered red dress. Yeah. You remember that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so that was very cultural though. So if that happened in the U.S., we would be like, what? And then in Japan, it's very culture with the Samara kind of haunting, where the apparition appears as I don't know, a frazzled girl or woman.
Ringu.
With the hair over the face. Yeah.
What was that called? It was Ringu. It was the grudge kind of thing. That was cool though. Yeah. I don't remember the name of that though, but yeah, I mean, very cultural, and
right.
I wonder, I kind of wonder sometimes, do the Japanese and Chinese tell American ghost stories, or are they just too bland? Because I think they have some pretty awesome stories.
They do.
I wish I could find more.
Yeah, there are cool, but then the other side of it for me, and this is something I have to come to terms with because my wife is from Asia, and when she tells me things of her culture, it's hard for me to get into the same place as she is.
Because they weren't our stories.
Right. They just resonate oddly to me. It's like, really? That's what you guys think about that? Because why? And some of the symbolism and stuff is hard for me to follow. But I think that the manifestations, when the spirits manifest, whatever they may be, like say this is a benevolent being and it manifests there as a lizard for some reason, because maybe lizard, in India there's thousands of symbolic representations of the gods and goddesses and et cetera, et cetera.
Right.
So it would appear in such a way as it should make sense to the person.
Right.
And I don't know, very strange though, very, very cool. Anyway, sorry, I don't know where I was going with all that, but
we were just talking about the difference in the cultures and the different apparitions that seem to pop up a lot.
Right, very true.
So
very true. So we hope you're enjoying the show so far tonight. And again, it's Wednesday night, so there are no breaks.
Welcome to Wednesday
night. Hump Day's Eve, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know. That's my little theme song I threw together. I've been working on video editing all day because I'm working on another break vid. But ladies and gentlemen, we are really, really, really nearing that 1,000 subscriber mark on YouTube, and I put out a couple feelers on Facebook and to hopefully get the last. I think we're up to. We need like 15 more.
Yeah, I know. It's like
oh god,
it's like 285 or 985.
I know.
Somebody just said, "Oh, it's that's my birthday minus the one." So, oh my god, that's cool.
1985.
Yeah, 1985. So
God.
yeah.
Well, you know how old we are, Don.
Yeah, I know. I was.
I almost graduated high school.
sophomore.
I know, right? Right, exactly. That's just it.
Oh,
That's right on top of us.
wow! What the hell was that?
That was a spirit that was right on top of us, right in this area. Well, actually, it would have been right about here.
You know what? I got chills when I heard that.
Yeah, that is a creepy sound, though. That
Oh,
doesn't
God.
help any. But
Oh God.
Don was asking for it.
Don was just.
Careful what you wish for,
I know,
Don.
huh? I might have that. I might have that. I might have that paranormal experience right here in this thing, and then I'll be like Billy Mays,
Yeah.
just
Don'll
without all the
stroke
cocoa.
Don will stroke out right here on the
It's
portal.
like, oh God.
But hey, it might go viral.
Don Longbeard dies live on stream.
YouTuber dies midstream. Check it out. I'll give it a really good title, Don. I promise.
Yeah, Don's dead. Watch this. Thought it was awesome.
Dude strokes out on paranormal show. Check it out. Live on YouTube stream.
It's
Very funny.
1987. Oh, it was. It's Lady Death that said that.
Oh,
So 1987. Wow,
that is the year
That's
I
like-
graduated high school.
that's younger than my youngest brother.
So when she was birthed,
Oh yeah.
when she was birthed, I was just finishing high school. How's that for an age gap, huh?
Well, whatever.
Well, I guess
It is what it is.
People got to be, continually getting born, so it's bound to happen. But
No, Lord Vader. No one had an extra bean burrito from Taco Bell. You gross guy. Good gracious.
that's right.
goodness.
I was going to give him a call today. I'm sorry about that. I forgot completely.
We can call him out right now.
Call him out. Yeah. Why I oughta.
Well, yeah.
Oh, it's just been one of those days. I've gotten a lot done, though. I've been very productive, and I'm feeling good about that. But, ladies and gentlemen, spread the word. We want to hit that 1,000 mark.
Yes.
It's just such a,
God, it's just like the skin of the teeth. It's
I
like,
just want it so bad. God bless it.
wow. It's like, oh,
Sorry. I had
guy strokes out on Paranormal Show because
Yeah.
he's 15 short of 1,000.
I know, trying to hit 1,000 mark. It's just the way it works, but it's just it's just frustrating to watch that counter because it's like
I know,
one,
it's like
and then you'll
creepy.
refresh like 15 other, and I'm probably only doing it 10 minutes apart, but I'm just like, how many
That's
now?
how close
many
he's
now?
watching
I
it.
know, it's like,
It's like that next mile marker,
I know, craziness.
Lady Death says she's sitting in her room making fart noises because of the bean burrito comment.
Well, tell her to record them and we can play them live. If you record them, we can play them live.
Lady Death records ghosts live in her room. Get back, demon!
I could hear the demon growl.
Oh!
I could smell the sulfur breath.
Oh, okay. This is one of those ones I'm going to pull for that video we keep talking about. Oh, no.
This will be our highlight reel here on the portal.
Wow.
Yeah, we can go full stupid in no time at all here on the portal.
Never go full stupid.
We can go full stupid.
Never go full stupid.
Absolutely. So I think I read that. I did. That was our tour into India, ladies and gentlemen. So we
Wow.
are doing paranormal encounters around the world. I told you that's what we were doing, and by God, that's what we're doing. Oh, my encounter was shadow people and a green orb.
Ooh.
That sounds lovely.
Sounds most lovely.
Want to hit? Here go.
Here you go.
All right, let's get into this. And this is from June of this year from the U.S., West Virginia.
Nice.
Right, so let's see what he's got to say. I've been visited by shadow people numerous times, and I've always been paralyzed with fear. Excuse me. However, this experience was unlike any I have ever had. I was not paralyzed by fear and actually extended my hand through one of the figures. Not only did I see 4 figures and a demonic cat with red eyes attached to the wall above my window,
Wow.
a green orb appeared. I was so shocked by the experience, I immediately drew a picture of what I saw and wrote it in my journal, a very detailed account of what had happened. This is not some story I made up, and this did happen to me. I've not been visited since this last occurrence and have 2 PhDs, one in medicine and one in divinity. I have an IQ of 149, slacker, and I have published 70 published works. I have been reluctant to discuss this with anyone who has not brought it up first due to the fear of being shunned. My written account of the events are on my book site, or Booksy store site. What's a Booksy site?
It's a self-publishing site.
Okay, I gotcha. In the hope that someone had the same experience and we could discuss it. This has not happened, so he's never met anybody that had a similar experience. But his Booksy site, you could look for it. It's you could look for the keywords "close encounters of the fifth kind," separated by dashes. So check it out if you've had some kind of a relatable experience, and maybe he'd love to hear from you. Around 2 or 2:45 in a.m., December 6th, 2014, I was dreaming of my grandmother, and I was talking in my sleep. I know I was because I have done so for a long time, and I hear myself talking in my sleep but do not realize I am asleep. I asked her a question, some question about does she love me or something related to that. At that moment, I saw a grayish creature upon the top left of the window. Is this in the dream or not? I'm not sure. It was small, about the size of a large cat or small dog, and had a human/demonic looking head with gray skin and reddish eyes, and brought instant fear to me. It had thin arms and legs and was in a crouched, like sitting position, sort of like a cat poised to strike. Oddly, it was attached to the wall as if it were defying gravity, and was facing downward and to the right. Like a crooked painting on the wall, it perched. After I saw it, and it made contact with my eyes, I instantly had a sense of complete fear and felt almost frozen with fear. I did not move, but then on the right side of the bed, from a perspective of one sleeping, in the corner of the room was a green laser-looking light that seemed to be shining in all directions but not at once, as if it were scanning the room. It was very much like a laser bar scanner beam of a laser light, but it was an intense light, green. The scanning only lasted for about 5 seconds, and then the light went out, and what emerged was a ball of green light. Not as bright as the light that was scanning or emanating in different directions. The ball was just about the size of a softball, or made slightly larger but smaller than a bowling ball. It moved quite fluidly, smoothly, and at a steady rate at about waist level from the corner that it originated from straight up to waist height, and then hovered horizontally along the right side of the bed until it reached the end of the bed, turned left and went to the front center of the bed, then started moving towards me. I was in an upright position when I saw the green scanning light, trying to look over the bed without moving too much because I did not want to interfere or scare whatever it was away, if that makes any sense. I was curious, and I had an open mind about the existence of other dimensions, etc. I was laying on my right side with my right arm supporting my body, perched up some, when the green ball instantly lost all color and changed to be the exact shape of a person with no body.
Huh.
The person was a silhouette, which made it difficult to see through, like smoke, or like looking through a translucent glass with a black cloud around it. I made a decision that since I had seen this green ball several other times over the past few years, and since it had never come that close to me, that I would attempt to feel it. I raised my hand, and it passed it through the black cloud that surrounded the silhouette, which looked like translucent glass, and the object instantly disappeared, and I felt nothing. No form, no cold, no hot, just air. I then said out loud, "It's okay, I'm not going to harm you. All are welcome, you're safe here." I had said that exact same thing several weeks ago, when I noticed 4 or 5 black gaseous shadows of people around the bed, whose bodies were the same shape as a human, but with elongated or stretched. I have seen these dark shadows on many occasions over the past year, and it hasn't been until recently that I read about the existence or supposed existence of what is called shadow people. Right, yep. The description I read online was exactly the same thing that I had seen many times. And when I first started seeing them, I was so fear-stricken that I could not move. But now I am not afraid. And when I do see them, I tell them it's okay. You're safe. I'm not going to hurt you. You are welcome here. I know it sounds like I need a Thorazine drip or a lobotomy, but this is what I saw, and I believe what I saw. I was not asleep because I was sitting up, leaning on my right arm, looking around, and as soon as I passed my hand through the silhouette, it disappeared. I got out of bed, used the bathroom, and got a flashlight and put it in bed with me. By this time, it was a little after 3 a.m., and I did not see anything else. I am as clueless as anyone could be, but there are things about our universe that we just don't understand, or things that are beyond our comprehension and our wildest dreams. I personally believe that when we die, our spirit or soul, whatever you may call it, or consciousness, transcends to a different plane of existence, another dimension, and a higher one. These souls can see us and sometimes even interact with us, but since we are in a dimension lower than them, we cannot interact with them at all. Hence, when I tried to touch the translucent silhouette of a person, it instantly disappeared. I don't know if perhaps some other beings, I can classify it as that, are able to transcend between two different planes of both consciousness and dimensions. As I was saying about death, when we are alive, we are bound to a spiritual earthbound plane, and in death, we transcend to another sphere of consciousness in another dimension. Like I mentioned before, this is just my own thoughts and theory. I would love to know if anyone has had an experience even remotely similar, and I am completely open to all comments, good, bad, ugly, pretty. I don't care at all. All I care about is knowing the truth, and I just want to know. But there is also one thing about knowing that bothers me. It seems to come at a price. The more I pay attention to these occurrences, the more I interact with these occurrences, the more frequently they are happening, and the more spectacular things are becoming. Yeah, you're exactly right. That's right. Yeah, I mean, they say if you don't want a haunting, just ignore it. Most of them will just go away.
Or welcome them in.
Well, yeah, I mean, he is welcoming them, and he's also experimenting with them, so he's made a big green light for whatever the hell it is. I know the other dimension or sphere of consciousness exists because shortly after my grandfather died, I heard a very loud bangs or slams in the kitchen for about 6 months after he had passed away. It sounded like a can of soup being slammed on the counter. I had no pets at that time, and I was the only one who was in my new home. What is strange is that my grandfather lived in a tiny trailer, very small, only 8 by 30 feet. I think it was an old construction trailer, but anyway, he died of asbestosis. There's an osis at the end. And emphysema, and he basically starved himself to death. Oh, dear. After his father died a month earlier, he just lost it all will to live. And I watched him go downhill quick, and my mother called me one night at work and said she was on her way home from the Veterans Hospital with Pop in the car, and he wants to die at home. He had regained consciousness after the doctors put him on a CPAP with pure oxygen in him for 48 hours to bring his CO2 levels down. And he asked my mother, what was this thing on my face? And she told him it's a CPAP, and it's keeping you alive. And he asked her, what happens if I take it off? She said, you will die. He said to take it off and take me home. She drove like a race car driver, going well over 120, and was stopped by the state trooper, who was an idiot because he wanted to check with the VA hospital first before letting her go. He could clearly see my grandfather dying in the passenger seat dressed in a VA pajamas, and at this time he had lost consciousness and his CO2 levels continued to rise. She could not wait any longer and took off in their Volkswagen Passat at full speed, leaving the trooper behind. To make a long story short, my mother asked my grandfather a few questions while he could still speak. In the car, she asked him if he was scared, and he said yes. She asked him if it hurt, and he said no. That was about all he said as she raced to his little trailer so he could die in his own bed with his dog at his side, and my mother and me on the other holding his hand. I was at the trailer waiting. I drove around 140 miles per hour on the interstate in my Mustang from the hospital that I worked at, a trip that usually took 25 minutes. I made in under 10. Oh, jeez. As soon as I pulled up, she screamed for me to get him in the house, and I opened the passenger door, grabbed him, and picked him up which was extremely difficult since he was limp, although when I thought I was about to lose my grip, his right hand gripped my shirt, and that was the last action he made. I placed him in bed. We turned on his oxygen machine just to have an old familiar sound in the background. Harry, his dog, jumped onto the bed and was under his left hand. We talked to him about all the good times we had with him over the years, recalling old memories and funny stories, and a little more than 4 hours later, my grandfather took his last breath at 3:34 a.m. After his last breath, he had a look of complete horror on his face, a look that has haunted me since. My mother was also horrified and looked at me. She said, "It's okay, go with the angels." She was afraid he was fighting it, but it was over. I truly believe it was his consciousness refusing to pass on, or it was his consciousness looking at the fires of hell. I don't know. But it was the most scared face I have ever seen. I have not seen anyone else die who made a face of horror after their last breath. We stripped his old pajamas off and gave him a nice bath, put on new pajamas. His VA pajamas were his favorite, and we placed a ripped piece of cloth around his head and jaw to keep his mouth closed after the muscles began to set. He was cremated, and his ashes are yet to be scattered. That was hard to talk about, but after he died, we removed his trailer, and I moved a new one into its place, a much larger, of course. The kitchen is located exactly where his bed would have been if you place his old mobile home where I live now. That is where the loud noises came from, and I didn't associate it with him at all until it stopped, and I talked with my mother about it, and she also felt his presence. Now, I often say, "Hi, Pop," when I hear a strange noise in the house, but there have not been any noises in the house since a year after he died. Only the occasional shadow figures and balls of green light. I know that my grandfather, all of those whom I have loved and have passed on to the next higher dimension, visit me from time to time. It may be spooky at first, but once you become accustomed to it and know what's going on, it becomes something to look forward to. That was a really incredible story. He's got some great points. I think we are driving these meat suits around, and when we go, I think that the body itself has a consciousness too. And maybe that's where the horrified face comes from. It's just like, oh, you know what I mean?
I
hope so.
I don't know. I mean, it's just a rictus grin. It just is what it is.
Would you call it a rictus grin?
Yeah.
I don't know what that word is.
Like, anyhow. But,
Did you make a face?
Of course I did.
Okay.
But, it's just one of those things. It's just the body stretching itself. And, if the cheeks go back,
Sure.
It just is what it is.
Right, but he's an MD, so he would know. Wouldn't he know?
Well, wouldn't he know that it's a horrified face, that he's looking into the maw of hell? No, hell no, he wouldn't know.
Well, no,
that.
I mean, wouldn't he recognize it like a normal passing function of the body, like,
Well,
if it's a horrified
those things
look?
are, those things are normal passings of the body, but he wasn't in a normal headspace. He was in a grieving headspace, and he was, seeing I'm going to refer to pareidolia. I think he may have just, it was the first thing that was in his head was it was a horrible, grimace, whatever he said it was, this look of pure terror. But it could have just been just the natural body. Oh well.
Hey, your guess is as good as mine.
That's just me. But why? I have a question though. Why is he reaching out, touching shadow people?
I don't know, but the thing that I've heard, which is interesting, is that there are several accounts of people interacting with paranormal beings, even in terms of kicking and striking them and feeling like you're hitting something. Right. So his instance of feeling nothing,
hand through it.
Yeah, is a little different. I don't know. I suppose there are. I think in his vision, there's just one other option. It's like here or there.
Right.
And perhaps there's, a multitude of other options, and some of them have substance we can interact with, and some of them don't.
Sure.
I don't know. It's a very curious thing. But, usually when you reach through a spirit, allegedly, and I can't say I've experienced this, I've certainly felt cold spots, but you usually feel like a prickly charge that you get the goose pimples when they're really close. Like our bodies react on an energetic level, and you get the goosebumps, you get the hair standing up, and those are allegedly the presence of spiritual beings of some kind. But
Right.
yeah, it is weird. I think he's a brave person for encouraging.
I don't think to encourage shadow people is a brave thing. I think
that's why I say it's
retarded.
brave. It's either foolish or brave, and it's probably foolish, but he's coming at it from an academic play. He's coming from it at an academic
Right.
direction. So
Right.
maybe what was funny.
Well, a bit earlier we said something about how did the spirit hurt her or however. But anyhow, MCAP said something to show us on this doll where the paranormal person hurt you, and then Diana
Bad
just
touch.
said, show us on this orb where the living touched you. Oh man,
We got the greatest listeners ever.
They are rolling tonight. Show us on the doll where the human touched you. Yeah. That's
MCAT, you've got to make a cartoon. You've got to make a
Oh,
cartoon.
if you go to the chat in Aether Archives,
Yeah.
Lady Death sent you a couple of sound files.
Oh God, awesome. I'm just refreshing the page because my
I did
feed
too.
froze.
We are at 989.
989. We're getting there, ladies and gentlemen. Find 11 more people. Find me 11
Drag them
more.
kicking and screaming and tell them they not only have to subscribe, they have to ding the bell and like everything.
Well, we hope that they're. I mean, honestly, I love the idea of people giving me numbers, but I really want them to be interested in what we're doing, because I would love to have more. I would like to see our family grow.
Yeah, absolutely.
There are so many channels out there with people with 20, 30,000 listeners
And they
or
got
subs,
crap.
and they on their videos they have like 50, 100 views, and it's like, well, all of those people really didn't care what you're doing at all.
Yeah.
And I certainly don't want that. I want the people that sub, to be, hopefully wanting to see what we're doing, what we're going to do next. And
Doc Kayak says I can make a few fake accounts.
well, as sweet as that is, Doc, and I love you for that.
Empty subs are empty subs.
We just, need you to get your friends involved. Hi, guys. If you love me, go like this, go sub. I don't know. There's options.
Dang.
Let's see. Should I play these cold?
Sure, why not?
This one might be too angelic. All right.
We'll go
This
with
is
that one.
more of the vocal musings of Lady Death, ladies and gentlemen, who has been a longtime friend and supporter of the
Definitely
Paranormal
that.
Portal. We love her with all of our hearts.
That we
and,
do.
We're going to play this. And
Showcasing her
I can't be
talents.
held responsible. I don't know what's going on here. But I'm going to click play. What was that?
That was my mic. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. All right, here we go.
We come from the land of the ice and snow, from the midnight sun where the hot springs flow.
That was beautiful. I could have sworn there were Valkyries flying over my house when that happened.
Oh, wow.
All right. Oh, no. It says dainty fart under it, so I don't know what I'm doing here. All right, we're going for it, ladies and gentlemen.
Full Monty. Oh, God,
I don't know if that
love
was that an EVP or was that
She does do ghost box
know,
sessions,
I'm
so
sure she does.
yeah, something. Maybe it was.
that was pretty cute.
Oh, wow.
You little stinker.
You little stinker. You're so cute. Oh, no.
Only here in the portal, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh.
You just never know what you're getting.
Those might get showcased somewhere.
I'm I like the
Lord Vader says, that's amazing.
that was pretty amazing. You're right, Lord Vader.
Lord Vader.
All right, so yeah, it's all game here on the Paranormal Portal. You just never know what you're going to get in every episode. Thank you, Lady Death.
Lady Death says it's an EFP.
All right. Well, we've redefined a new phenomena here on the show.
The porthole. Oh, yeah, hi, Randy. We
Hi,
haven't seen
Randy.
you in a while, but thanks. All right. Anyhow.
Oh my God! Yeah, there's no limits here on the portal. Our depravity always finds whole new levels.
It's just surprisingly enough, we're still safe for work.
Yeah, we're still kid friendly, I think, which is good because we do have children that listen to the portal, and I encourage that. And I know that playgrounds across the land there are kids making fart noises. So this is not new material, I'm sure. All right, Don, do you got something to read?
You know, I could probably pull something up here.
Okay,
yeah,
please
so
do,
no
because I got to run to the loo.
Oh, tell Lou
I
hi
was-
for me.
Oh, yeah.
Just call me Lou. All right. So, okay. Yeah, I got another dog story. Sure. Okay.
All right, please feel free to read it, and I am going to go.
Yeah, you're going to put me on the spot.
What was that noise?
What?
Did you bump something?
No, that was, yeah.
Oh, your bottle. Okay.
Yeah, probably my
Gotcha.
elbow.
Well, no, I'm just
You
going
know,
to put you on.
MCAT, by the way, MCAT's logging the weird noises. He's just, tagging them, I should say. So, like earlier there was a knock. And he said, "What was that knock?" I said, "Well, it's just my foot." He goes, "Okay, I'll tag it for you."
Oh.
So he's tagging our noises.
Can tell he's an investigator.
He's an investigator.
All
Definitely
right.
not.
All right, you're in beard vision, sir.
That's just me on the screen there.
Yeah, just make sure you grab good pull first, and I'll be right back.
All right. If I don't move my mic, it'll stab him like right in the chest. All right. So what the dog knew. And this is from Aeon Flux 072. Aeon Flux. Ah, good old movies. In my old apartment, my dog would, on occasion, look down the hallway towards the bedroom from the living room and growl for no apparent reason. Also on occasions, when I was sleeping in the bed, she slept at the foot of the bed, I would wake up with her staring intently at the door and growling. She was a big girl, 140 pounds of Great Dane and slobber. So I'm there for a couple of years. of this, thinking, okay, my dog has a good imagination. Wrong. One night I woke up due to my dog not growling, but barking for all she was worth, and not at the door. She was barking straight at me. I opened my eyes pretty much immediately, and there was a blur of light leaning over me, very close, certainly less than 6 inches from my face. It was not distinguishable as a person. It more resembled a person-sized version of a colorful nebula you might see in the picture of a science magazine. 3-dimensional and all. I immediately got the distinct impression that this thing had been watching me sleep, you think, for God knows how long and how many times before. For all the clarity of that distinct feeling, I had no sense of what it wanted, but whether it was malevolent or just curious. I flipped right the F out and jumped backwards out the other side of the bed, too terrified to scream, and that blur of light receded and disappeared over the course of 3 seconds. My dog was going absolutely ape. So, shortly after, I asked the building manager if anybody had ever died there. She investigated that and came back to me a couple weeks later with a, yes, a woman died of a drug overdose in that apartment in 1995, so 12 years ago. Shortly after having her child removed from her custody because of her addiction problems. My dog still did growl at the hallway from time to time, but I never saw it again, and I moved out about a year later. I've had other encounters, but this thing was literally inches from my face, watching me sleep, getting shivers now, just writing about it. Yeah, no doubt. Certainly not exactly shadow people from the other story, but this one was a being of a blur of light and leaning very close, 6 inches from her face. That'd be kind of scary. That'd be kind of scary. Hey, Brent. Nice to see you're back.
You see my front, too? Thank you. Thank you.
God.
I'm here all night.
You left the door open and there's something standing in the doorway.
What?
No. I was just seeing if you'd look.
Of course I'd look.
Made you look.
I left it open because I thought they're...
Oh, you want? Okay, yeah, no problem,
Yeah.
no problem. Yeah, get some, but a
Move
drug
some
overdose.
air.
So she died after well, obviously she OD'd after her child was removed from her custody because of the addiction. That's kind of sad in a lot of ways, but that's what that stuff does to you, man. Not good, not good. But 12 years that may have been, wandering around that particular spot.
I missed the whole story, but
that's okay. That's okay.
I can always listen to it later.
That's true. Yeah, because you're going to get up tomorrow and listen to the whole episode tomorrow, watching the chat.
I do. I like doing that the day after a show is getting up the next morning, hot cup of coffee, and come up and watch the replay and check out all that I missed in the chat rooms.
Ever braid my beard? No. 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 Oh, well, okay, maybe you can dye my, like Scott. That'd be cool.
Okay, so
not really.
Did you have anything else to
Sure.
read?
Don's Beard Braiding, 666 Nunker Hill Road.
Okay. All right.
There is another one. Sure, I got another
Please
one.
go ahead.
There's something on the stairs. So when I was a kid, I would race up to the top of the stairs as fast as I could, like it was some sort of silly game. Well, I must have been 5 or 6 at the time, I'm not sure, but I know I was very little. Somewhere along the way, a voice at the top of the stairs started to whisper to me. It would make bets with me such as, I bet you a penny you can't make it to the top of the stairs. I don't really think there was a certain amount of time or anything. As I said, I was very little, so I probably didn't have any counting abilities anyway. Ha! I recall sitting on the top of the stairs having conversations with this voice, about betting, of course. Eventually the voice, it was like a whisper of a man's voice, not my own in my head, started to bet me my life instead of pennies. It'd say, I bet your life you can't make it up the stairs, blah, blah, blah. As I got older, it stopped. I never really thought about it at all. I never mentioned it to anyone until one night I was sleeping over at my brother's place. I was about 18. He was 22. We were talking about spooky stories. Out of nowhere, I brought up the voice at the top of the stairs. My brother got all quiet and weird. Before I even mentioned the betting aspect, he said, Did it make bets with you? We both looked at each other horrified. It certainly was freaky after the fact. A lot of bad stuff went down in my family at that period of time, and my mother, a heavily religious lady, said that there was a lot of evil in our lives at the time. I don't at all think our place was haunted, by the way. It was built in the late 70s, and as I got older, I never experienced anything like that again. Wow. So betting, some nebulous voice betting a kid his life. You can't make it up the stairs. I'm surprised that it wasn't followed by, well, one day I fell down and cracked my head, Because I know when I was running up and down the stairs at the age of 4 or 5, I fell down all the time.
Did you really?
Oh, yeah. And my grandpa would look at me and go, I told you not to run down the stairs.
Yeah, it's always that hindsight thing. It's always crystal clear.
Yeah, well, after like 10 times the grandpa's saying, I told you not to run up the stairs, it just doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It just doesn't matter. It's one of those hard-headed learning things. It's a curve. It's usually actually just kind of straight down, but, it's not much of a curve. That's the tough
part, and it's a tough part about being a parent because, we get these little beings, and they're so sweet and gentle. And
these little beans.
And they're just, did you notice how I enunciated? They're just so precious and so innocent, and you want to protect them from everything. You just want to stop them from ever hurting, and it's just like, you just got to sometimes let them fall so they learn what that means, and unfortunately it's tough. You can't catch them every time. You just can't be there every time, as much as you want to. Yeah. So that's when the old, I told you not to do that, lady comes into play.
Lady Death just says, I bet you wouldn't do that again. Oh, I did it all the time.
Yeah. You think Don learned?
No. I was intimate with those stairs. And they weren't even covered. They were like just flat plank wood stairs. It's like all the way down it.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
But nothing was ever betting me except my grandfather. I bet you next time you'll crack your head. I did.
You did.
I did.
Well, you got it good. Yeah, I know. My little boy, he was running on the sidewalk. He says, don't run on the sidewalk. Don't do it. And this is when he was still 2. I mean, he's just 3 now, but he was still 2. Don't run. Don't run. You're gonna have trouble. Don't run. Your feet are, not going as fast as you think they are.
Yeah.
And his he's just such a stubborn little man. And man, he ran once and did the scorpion kick. I mean, he ran so hard, and his feet didn't get under him enough. And he went down on his face and caught the pavement and his feet came up and kicked him in the back of the head. I mean, it was just the full Monty, and it was just like, oh no, this is going to be bad. And he got up and was like, had the sour face on, but never really cried. I was like, wow, this kid is tough. This kid is tough. And I'm serious. He had a raspberry on the side of his face. It was at least a 50-cent piece, just no skin.
Wow, yeah.
He really peeled it.
Wow, cool.
Yeah.
Left a piece of himself behind.
Don, you want to go through my family tree on there?
Oh, yeah, I left a lot of pieces behind. a lot of blood here, a kneecap over there.
Right. Yeah. There you go. Yeah. But that's just the lessons of life, and sometimes we just need that stuff to learn. It's like it's like a paranormal investigator out hunting for ghosts until they find a demon. And then it's like, oh, yeah, that's the equivalent of the grandpa going, you shouldn't run up those stairs.
Right. Exactly.
It's like, why do I have this attachment? Why do I want to choke kittens all of a sudden? What's going on? Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
But
choke
it's what we do.
Choke kittens. That's fun.
Why do I have a sudden urge to choke kittens? I don't get it.
So Diana Daniels in the chat says, Brent, you must have young children. You get teenagers, you'll be like, you should have listened. We don't go to the hospital on the weekends. And then I let her know because,
Oh, I got a 23-year-old. Yeah. I mean, I got a 23-year-old, a 17-year-old, and my 3-year-old.
She goes on to say, Brent seems too nice to have kids that age.
I was. I just want you to know I was the nice guy. Everyone else was wicked. No, I'm just kidding. It's I was actually married very young, and it was happily married at the time. But just when you get married young, life changes and you change, and you don't really know who you are at a young age, and you kind of figure it out later. And it's just some things just aren't meant to last, but they still they bring us to a place and they give us their gifts, and we continue on. Right. So.
Well, if one of your boys happens to be listening, Lady Death says one of the kids called into the portal. He sounded like a kind soul, not like an asshole millennial. So there's a compliment to your boys.
Okay. All right. Well done. Yeah, he is a good boy. However, we don't need to repeat the language on the air.
Oh, sorry.
That's all right.
I didn't think about it. Yep.
Okay. All right. Well, there we go. Let's get into more stories, and we'll see what we can do here. Because this isn't the Brent Thomas, This Is Your Life show. This is the true. Paranormal Portal.
But it's fun talking about life. It
is. It can be.
You got another spooky scary
I
story
got
over
a
there?
whole pile of them. So let me get into this one here. This is called Haunted House, I think. If it's from abroad, I might skip it. It's from Canada. I think we can probably read it.
Oh.
From 2007 in Canada. It's called Haunted House. So let's see what we can do here. I would like to share a few stories of things that have happened to me. I don't know if we just move into the wrong houses or if some people are just more receptive to unearthly phenomena. My mom and I live in this cute little house. Nothing happened at first until a couple of months later. We are sitting in the kitchen having tea with my aunt and my cousin when all of a sudden we hear this lady crying in our basement. We all looked at each other and we knew nobody was downstairs because we were all upstairs. We knew it wasn't the radio or TV because there wasn't any downstairs. My mom suggested we peek down the stairs, but as we came closer, the crying got louder. That's too bad. That's not the direction you want it to go. So we decided to just listen upstairs. It continued for a few minutes and then it stopped. I only heard this one time, and I don't know if my mom ever heard it again. Excuse me. I was sitting in a chair watching TV in the same house when I felt like someone was watching me. You know, that feeling of chills down your back? That's what happened. I turned to look behind me, and I could see this red kind of see-through hand coming at me like it was going to grab me. It was kind of late in the night, and I was up by myself, and I immediately jumped, turned off the TV, and hopped into bed with my mom. There's another story that happened in another house about 3 years ago. This is an old 2-stories house that belonged to this old couple that both died. I don't know if they died in this house, but me and my friend were painting a piece of furniture downstairs. Just her and I were there. when all of a sudden the washer door just slams down twice. We looked at each other and walked up the stairs slowly. She then told me that she was just sitting on the washer a few minutes ago and that the washer door was closed. There's only one bedroom on the main floor in this house, and it happened to be my room. Sometimes we could see little orbs of light in there. That bedroom was right beside the living room, and one night while I was watching TV by myself, I could hear someone breathing hard, sort of snoring. I turned on the TV and listened. Sure enough, it sounded like someone was sleeping in the room when there was nobody in there. We used to hear someone walking around upstairs, too. I'm not the only one that has heard these things. My husband and children used to hear these things, too. Even my teenage daughter never wanted to be alone in that house. To this day, they still mention the old haunted house. The house is now empty, but the guy who lives beside it says that he hears things like slamming doors coming from the house occasionally. I don't believe that these spirits were out to harm anybody. Maybe it was just the old couple just living there in there with us. This is the last story, and just before we lived in the old house, we lived in a trailer where we experienced a few freaky things. A few people, including me, used to see shadows in the shape of a person walking around in the trailer. This one night, everybody was in bed except me and my husband, and we decided to go to bed, so we turned off all the lights and went to bed. About 10 minutes go by, and we were just falling asleep, and the lamp in the living room turns itself on. We knew it wasn't any of us because the kids were sleeping and we were both in bed. Maybe it was just the land we were living on because my husband's brother used to have a trailer about 2 meters from where our trailer was, and the freaky thing is both of our trailers burnt down.
Wow.
His burnt down quite a few years before our trailer burnt. We told his brother what we experienced, and he said that they used to hear and see things too. That is pretty cool.
Wow, yeah.
That is a pretty outstanding story, actually. And yeah, I mean, it's certainly a case where people can certainly be triggers for paranormal activity to come through, and it may be an excess of psychic energy that you have that make, and I think Sean has spoken about this a few times, in that in many cases these earthbound spirits can be in almost a dormant phase, but then something, if a very psychically charged person comes in, they can be awakening for these other dormant, quote-unquote, dormant spirits. And that's why some people can live in a house and have no problems whatsoever. Somebody else move in and all of a sudden, they got, issues all the time. And to me, that stands to reason. I think that makes sense. That the energy of the living people can be triggers to bring these things out. And of course, other things can be triggers like, working on a property, remodeling, redoing walls, redecorating can all trigger paranormal activity. Mm-hmm. So, and sometimes it's just they don't like who moves into the house. Sometimes they don't want you in their house. And why that is, I wouldn't take it personally. It's just sometimes you like people and sometimes you don't,
It's like roommates.
Right. I mean, sometimes you get along with people. I mean, there's people, and I can't say why this is, but, everybody has this situation where you don't, you can have a group of friends and someone new will come in and every one of your friends likes this person except you. And it's not just, I don't like that person because they're, different. It's just something about them and you don't know what it is, but you just don't want anything to do with that person. Now, it's probably an energetic thing. Maybe they're too much like you. Maybe they're not, maybe they're your polar opposite. I don't know. But we all have those situations. And of course, whatever hang-ups people can have in life, we can have in death too. If
Right.
if you remain earthbound,
Right.
you're going to have those same behaviors in death. You don't just suddenly become enlightened.
I've always been told that a situation like that, when somebody walks into a room and you just instantly dislike them, but all your friends like them.
Right.
I've always been told that, well, it's because they're kind of just like you. You're like two peas in a pod.
Could be.
And you clash. They clash
Right.
because,
I agree with that.
Trying to outdo the other one, that kind of thing. So.
Right. Yeah, it could, it could very well be. Oh, this one sounds cool. This one's called The Forest People. I'm kind of curious. There's a couple on this page that I want to check out. I think they sound pretty cool. My God, the night has flown by. Holy God.
What time is it?
8:44 already.
Oh, goodness.
Okay, this one is called The Forest People. I want to read this because I don't know what it is, but it sounds really interesting. So this is coming out of the United Kingdom, and it's from 2014. It wasn't that long after I saw the face on the door, my previous story, The Face on the Door, which is what it was called, that I started seeing the forest people. They were strange things roaming around the forest. My family would visit quite often. They were glowing figures that would follow us around, protecting us from something. And I would always call these things the angels. But there was something darker roaming around the forest, something you wouldn't want to get face to face with. It was midsummer and one of the warmest days, so my family decided to go for a walk around the old forest a few miles up the road, and we had been to that forest many times before, so we weren't expecting it to be any different. As soon as we got to the entrance of the forest, I started seeing the people walking around in a protective manner. I wasn't scary at first because they looked just like angels, so I knew they couldn't harm us. It says couldn't warm us, but I think they meant harm. It started getting scary when we passed an old abandoned cottage, when the energy started to change around us. Something dark was roaming this bit of the forest. It was the evilest thing I have ever felt. But I didn't see anything out of the blue. So we carried on, just walking past just to get to the lake. It was on the way back when I saw the dark shadow lingering against the wall of the cottage. It was looking straight at us, but I was the only one who could see it. It was when we walked past it, something strange started to happen. It followed us through the forest, getting closer every time, ignoring all the people we were walking past, ignoring trees. It was at this time my sister turned around to take a picture on her phone, and as soon as the picture was taken, the shadow vanished and the atmosphere started to turn brighter. It was when we looked at the picture that we saw a figure coming toward us. It looked like it was wearing a long cloak of some sort, but it also looked like it was being taken away by the mist around the figure. I have visited this forest many times after this incident, but I have never felt the same feeling around the forest. I don't see the forest people anymore. I don't see the shadow, the dark shadow against the cottage, but it seems that they have moved on. The figure went, and so did the glowing people. I really admire people that can see those things. I just think that the world must be so fantastically magical to them to see things other people don't see. I'm just very, very envious of that. I do see, I do see like energy, like waves of light, and I don't know, it almost looks like a mist. But I don't see like figures, and I really wish that I could, because some of these stories that we read on the show are just, they're really cool. I mean, people are having interactions, like a dialogue with people that have passed on, like Deb, for instance.
Right.
She can talk to these people that have passed, and I just think that is so amazing. I don't know. I know we all have these abilities. I know that we all have these abilities within us. But some people are just blessed to be born with them just turned on,
And Ruthie C says no, it's scary sometimes.
I suppose that's true too, Ruth. You're right. I mean, there's the other side of it where you get to see all the darkness as well.
Right, you can't shut it off.
Right. But, unfortunately, but at least you can see the darkness. And I think that that's the good part. You can see the darkness that other people are just absolutely oblivious to. So maybe you can avoid it better than a lot of people. I don't know. I guess it's like everything else. It comes with the pros and the cons, but I still would rather be able to see the darkness if it meant I could see all the light too, because I think that to me the trade-off would be worth it. And, maybe you could, I don't know, maybe you could help that darkness somehow. I don't know. Again,
Dee says that was her when she was a kid.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So
That's amazing. Very, very amazing. So, very cool story. There was another one I wanted to read as well, but I keep running into more and more of these cool stories, but that was the forest people. But what was this one is evil forest / woods.
Ooh.
Now I know I've walked into stretches of woods that for some reason just felt wrong. And I don't know how to explain it. I don't know. And I suppose that everybody has had these experiences, right? And, maybe it's not that unusual, but to walk into some place, and especially forests, because I think that in the forests, we are the most outside of our element as anywhere that we're going to be. Because, if you're in a true wilderness, you're probably the slowest thing there. You can't hear as well as everything else there. You can't smell as well as everything else. So we are definitely at a physical disadvantage when we're in the woods. But normally I feel completely at peace and comfortable in the woods. But I know that I've walked into some places and just been like, there's something dark here. Something doesn't feel right. So I do think that we are all sensitive to the energy of the world around us. Just sometimes it takes really supercharged things to get through our layers, I guess.
Huh.
Have you ever done that, Don? Walked into a place and just felt something's wrong?
I've walked into, because I grew up on the peninsula in Washington, so yeah, there's a lot of forests and trees up there.
Sure.
And I grew up, and then I could run right across the street and dive into the Pacific Ocean, so.
Sure.
I've walked into a few dark places, in woods and things like that, but I was always really comfortable in them. So
Okay.
I don't know. Maybe,
So you've never felt that foreboding, like, ooh, something does not feel good here?
Not until later in life, but
Okay.
I don't know how to. I don't know how to quantify that.
Okay.
So
That's a fair
but
response.
no, yeah. When it took a while, I bet you it took a while for me to get jaded. I bet you that's what it was. I was like, now he's just a jaded old guy. He's a crotchety old guy.
Crotchety old
Gosh
bastard.
dang it. Get off my lawn!
Get off my lawn, you kids.
Get off my lawn!
You spoiled brats.
Okay, so anyhow, evil forest woods. Okay.
Evil Forest Woods is next. Hey there, oh geez, I hate this fluffy beginning some people do. All right. It happened when I was in high school, around 2011, 2012. I went to a boarding school, and the school was located at the countryside. If I may say, from the boys' dormitory, is nothing but forest, miles and miles to the horizon. We all knew the school was very haunted. Those will come later, hopefully. And no one, those stories, this person's obviously a regular contributor. And no one ventured into those woods, be it daytime or whatever. Although some stubborn ones ventured, and all lived to regret their decisions. This is the story of one of those guys. Let's call him Max. Max was seen as those athletic type guys, big body, tall, you know what I mean. He always said there was nothing in the woods and he can spend the night there, blah, blah, blah. He got in on a bet with a friend at around 2300 p.m., isn't that 11 p.m.? He set off to spend the night there. He set off, to spend the night there alone. About an hour or so later, his scream was heard. He screamed, "Jesus!" Everyone was scared to follow up, so they contacted campus security, and about 8 of them came there and set off to go in search of him. They found him, but he was unconscious. Till date, 5 or 4 years later, Max has lost his ability to speak, and whatever he saw has also affected him psychologically. No one knows what he saw, and no one is ready to do a follow-up into the woods to rewrite history. Well, not yet, at least. To my main story, one night, obviously midnight, a friend, Mike, not his real name, woke up and started calling us to come see something. We slept in bunk beds, and it was night by the glass it was right by the glass window, so he could see outside when he's in bed. We went to his bed, and what we saw, I can't understand it until now. A giant ball of fire was jumping among 3 trees. These trees are not small. I mean, they are huge, tall trees. They also weren't very close. They were far apart, at least 100 meters between trees, and the flame fire thingy was just bouncing from one to another like it's no one's business. We looked for minutes until the fire eventually disappeared, and we all went to bed confused. Tried to watch it again on several occasions, but it never happened anymore. At least so we think. So, What is that fireball? I don't know. Was it actually flame? Well, probably not. Obviously, the trees didn't catch fire,
Right.
but it was some fiery-looking orb, I guess.
Huh. Interesting.
Very interesting, but different. That was from the country of Ghana, though. So,
Ghana.
I know Africa has all kinds of energy, so.
Right. Yeah. Well, there's a lot of history there, you know.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Kind of
Layers and layers. I actually saw the Black Panther movie finally.
Oh.
It made it to Netflix, ladies and gentlemen, so I watched it, and it was pretty good.
Huh.
It was pretty good. I love those Marvel movies.
I don't know if I have any will to watch it.
Oh, Don, just watch it and be a. It's time to nerd up, brother.
Nerd up. No,
time
don't
to
get me
geek
wrong.
up.
I mean, I was excited to watch, Thor Ragnarok, but it sucked,
Oh, you didn't like Ragnarok?
No, because when he was hanging, never mind.
Okay.
It's just, I thought it was just bad acting. It was trying to be too funny.
Oh.
It was just trying to be too off the cuff.
Disingenuous for you?
Yes, very
Okay.
actually, very actually.
Gotcha. Okay.
So, but anyhow, I digress. I'm really not interested in watching the
Did
Black
you see
Panther.
the Avengers, the newest one, whatever the hell it's called?
The one with Spider-Man?
Well,
Civil War? No, it
no,
wasn't.
Avengers, not Captain America.
Oh,
Civil
Avengers.
War.
No.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, okay.
That one's.
I'm lost.
That one's going to be out, I'm sure, sometime in the future. And that was.
You know what's funny is I know somebody who works on those sets.
Yes, you were saying that, but I have to tell you, I was very disappointed in the whole ending of the movie. I just thought it went a weird direction, and I don't know how they're going to recoup that, but we'll have to wait and see, I guess, because it's just like, what? It's over? What? Wait a minute. It's like nothing good happened. So,
right. Yeah.
just a whole lot of disappointment. So, anyway, let's continue on our Mom's Forest Demon.
Ooh.
I kind of like these forest stories tonight,
go with
ladies and
that one.
gentlemen. Let's see. This is from Minnesota, my old
Minnesota.
stomping grounds.
Tiny soda.
It's just mini, but it's the land of 10,000 lakes, ladies and gentlemen.
And 100 gajillion mosquitoes.
Yeah.
Hi, Vamp. Long time no see.
Hey, Vamp. Good to see you. Yeah, Minnesota apparently has more. What do they call it? Coastline than any other state in the nation.
Well, it's because it's got that huge connection with the Great Lakes, right?
Well, no, that not only that, but they, of course, shoreline or whatever, more shoreline because of all the lakes. There's all these. I mean, probably a lot more than 10,000.
And Prince lived there. Yes, Prince lived there.
Prince did live there. In fact, I used to work for a countertop company and doing Corian countertops years and years ago, and we put Corian countertops into Prince's guest house or whatever. It was pretty amazing. It truly was. But anyway, that's a long lifetime ago. So let's continue here. The Forest Demon. This story happened when I was a teenager to my mother, not me. But I was there to see how it affected her. My mom, who was becoming Catholic at the time, saved up her money and flew to Minnesota to attend a Catholic conference. It was autumn and the leaves in Minnesota were changing beautifully, so on her first day there, she decided to take a little nature walk. The hotel concierge told her about a nearby wilderness preserve that had walking paths and instructed her how to get to it. My mom is a pretty fearless person, even when she is in an unfamiliar place, and since there were plenty of other people there enjoying the park, she wasn't too worried about walking into the woods alone. She was having a pleasant walk, but it was getting dark, and she decided to head back towards her car. As she walked back, she noticed the forest suddenly became strangely quiet, and she had an intense feeling of someone watching her threateningly. It was like she was being hunted. Feeling uneasy, she started to pray. Then something she could not see began breathing heavily in her right ear. She said it sounded like a gigantic beast that had been running hard and was panting. She could also hear heavy footsteps crashing through the grass and dried leaves next to her on the same side. In fact, she could even see the grass being parted there. When she increased her speed, the unseen creature did as well. The people she had seen in the park earlier had gone home by then, and reaching her car seemed to take forever. Mom got ready for bed, feeling quite shaken and tired when she returned to her hotel room. The next day was Sunday, so she set her alarm to wake up in time to go to Mass in the morning. It went off at the proper time, but as she sleepily reached out to quiet it, she noticed there was a second alarm clock in the room, one she had not seen before. This alarm clock had a different time, and according to it, she didn't need to get up for another hour. For some reason, she chose to trust it and went back to sleep. When she finally woke up, there was no sign of the mysterious second alarm clock. She had missed Mass. My mom returned from Minnesota more determined than before to live as a Catholic, yet she seemed strangely altered. Her mood was troubled and solitary, and I remember her spending a great deal of time sitting in her chair by the window, praying rosaries with a pained expression in her eyes. When I would ask her what was wrong, she wouldn't tell me. Finally, after about a month of this, she confided in me that ever since her experience in Minnesota, she had been unable to pray properly. Her prayers had become jumbled with obscene images and vulgar thoughts. It was disgusting and made her ashamed to attempt to pray. It was explained to her by a priest that a demon from the forest had followed her home. It was assaulting her with those visions in order to stop her from praying so that she would give up on being Catholic. The answer was to fight through the sickening imagery and pray even more. So that's why she had been spending so much time in prayer, and eventually it worked. The demon went away. My Anubis. My Anubis came to see us. Hi, buddy. Hi.
Oh, that cat.
Oh, you love this cat, Don.
That cat.
Your toes are
crazy
cringing.
Cat.
Your toes are absolutely
I was
scared.
just holding him, actually.
Oh, were you?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yep. Showing him off.
Oh, yeah. He's got my cord.
he's
got my cord.
He's got you all wrapped around him.
He's always got me wrapped up.
Jeez.
That's Anubis, ladies and gentlemen. He's a little sweetheart.
Yeah, most of the time.
Most of the time,
When
except when you're jingling your socky feet. Then
yeah. Hey,
it's
whoa,
on.
whoa! What are you doing? Whoa, that wasn't an invitation.
He jumped up.
Whoa, what are you doing, buddy?
Anubis has
right.
struck.
All right.
He decides he likes show business.
Yeah.
My cat wants to be a star.
There's always a place for a black cat in the show.
See, this is a variety show, ladies and gentlemen. We just brought on the Animal Act.
Yeah,
that's got to be good for another 15
Jack
subs.
Yeah, no doubt. Look, they have cat videos too. Actually, that's actually a cat interacting.
Yeah. Oh my God.
So anyhow, thank you, cat.
That's Anubis. Ladies and gentlemen, you've now met my cat.
You know what time it is, Brent?
I know it's time for another story. No, Don, you're not trying to get this portal to end, are you?
Well, I love it. It's gone by, and yeah, Oro just joined us, and
there you go.
Danielle and Vamp just got here, and
see,
so yeah, we got some. But doggone it, I'm trying to get on this thing called a schedule, where I'm not home past 1 o'clock anymore. This guy over here. Yeah.
Oh no.
Cry me a river.
Do you guys want us to be done? Is that what do you, let's put it to a vote.
Oh no. No, the chat room's going to go so fast, we're not even going to be able to see it.
All right. Well, if you got to go, you got to go.
Nobody's. No, keep going. We got a couple more stories.
All right, we got a couple more stories, ladies and gentlemen, and we will continue. That may be all we'll get to tonight, but we're going to give it a whirl and see how far we can go.
Oh, can I go with this one?
Go ahead, please.
The Haunted Strip Club. Okay, so this was when I used to live in a different state. I got a job working as a cocktail server at a strip club, which was a good choice for me at the time, as the club was very fun, kind of metal punk vibe, and also very popular with lesbians. And since I was going through a process of coming out as a bisexual, as in very radical, screw corporate society, screw men, let's take their money phase. Okay. I had to clean that up way lots.
Okay, good.
I'm not one of those people who think stripping is super empowering, but it was a good fit at the time. Also, while I was there after about 6 weeks, I would often have terrible suffocating feelings, almost about to have panic attacks and terrible migraines while working in the club. I would often feel panicked and scarred, but chalked it up to a stressful job in a strange environment. I never had these feelings anywhere else. So the club was really kind of messy, not dirty, just filled with things. Lots of tables in the bar, lots of speakers, extra stuff in the back storage room, behind the stage, and a tiny, crowded dressing room for the dancers. Behind the stage, there was kind of a storage room that had several dressers and mirrors put in, as well as an old comfy couch in case the dancers wanted to use it as an extra dressing room or a place to nap, but no one actually used it.
Mm-hmm.
This room gave me the worst, suffocating, panic-inducing vibes of all, and I have no explanation for it. So I would often be at work until 4 a.m. or later since I didn't have a car, public transportation wasn't running, and it was kind of in a sketchy neighborhood. I would wait until one of the dancers was done for the night and she would drop me off at home. This was often after my own shift ended. When I first started working, I would spend an extra time doing side work, clean, straighten up, like a good employee. But after a while, I would often just hang in the back room studying since I was also I was also in grad school at the time. Until I was completely freaking out in the back room when I would leave to go sit up at the bar or the dancers' dressing rooms, the feeling would mostly go away. So also when this stuff started to get worse, I had to add some of it was around Halloween, so I was watching a lot of scary movies, and I was smoking a ton of weed. So both of these things might have had some effect on my psyche. But also these feelings never happened anywhere else at this time. I started to kind of bring it up to the dancers that drove me home. She said that the back room also creeped her out, but didn't go into detail. So one night after closing, I was carrying a box of extra glasses into the back room, and I heard the most terrifying sound of my life. It was like from a horror film, like a long screech, almost like electronic music, but just one tone. Almost like a chainsaw that reverberated around the entire floor and walls. I dropped the box, screamed, and ran out to the floor. The bartender said he had heard a noise as well, but not as loud as me, and without the vibrating floors and walls. And checking the sound system, telling me some of the music equipment had probably just started screwing up. This happened at least 5 more times while I worked there. Sometimes other people heard it, sometimes just me, always when I was walking into the back room. Twice when I walked into the back room, the light would flicker off and it'd be replaced by a red glow, like someone had put a red light bulb in.
Ooh.
Both times that happened, I ran out, got the bartender, they would check it out, but the light would be totally dead, not working. After a while, I was constantly shaken, and I didn't want to tell him every time something happened since I was afraid they would think I was crazy. After the noise and the red light, I would never go into the back room, even when I should have been cleaning it. One time I was standing in the hall between the dancer's dressing room and the back room, half-heartedly sweeping the floor, staring into the back room. I was starting to feel panic in my chest, and I kept telling myself to look away and look into the dressing room, but I couldn't stop staring, like I was transfixed. And in the corner of my eye, I saw a reflection in the mirror leaning against a dresser in the back room. I forced my head to look, and I saw, in the mirror, 2 legs in black ripped tights, floating about a foot from the floor, swaying back and forth.
Ooh.
I threw the broom and screamed as loud as I could and ran to the bar. I was convinced one of the dancers had hung herself in that room. I could see it so clearly in my mind. Of course, when we went back, there was nothing. One of the dancers was convinced that the room was haunted and that I was seeing a ghost. She thought maybe someone had killed herself back there. She wanted to get me and some of my friends to do a Ouija board at the bar and the ghost, about the bar and the ghost, but I was too terrified.
Mm-hmm.
Around all this happening, I felt I was losing my mind. I was having panic attacks, migraines, sleeping with the lights on, was terrified of my own shadow, and carried pepper spray everywhere I went. It may have just been a combination of everything in my life, sleeping weird hours, grad school, dealing with my own personal stuff, but I always had been a high-stress person who worked a lot more stressful jobs since then, and I've never experienced anything like that ever in my life. About a week after I saw the legs in the mirror, I was working one shift before taking off a week to do some research as for a grad class and go on a long weekend trip with my girlfriend. This was near Halloween, so the club had kind of gone all out and had goofy decorations and costumes. I usually dressed in all black anyway, so I tried not to wear anything too sexy or just too distracting, so customers would mostly leave me alone and concentrate on the dancers. So this day I just wore a black skirt, a t-shirt, and had my face painted like sugar skulls. It was mostly white with jewels, and it was pretty rad. Rad. Since I was so freaked out all the time at the club, I started asking if I could leave around midnight and would catch the last bus. But this night my friends were meeting me to drink at the club after my shift. I was near the end of my shift and was taking off my apron in the dressing room and leaned over the dancer's mirror to check my makeup, and that's the last thing I remember. Until I was being shaken awake by one of the bouncers with a friend and girlfriend by my side. I was in the haunted back room laying on the couch. My face was completely smeared. My face paint was completely smeared all over my face. They said I disappeared for about 45 minutes until they went looking for me and found me asleep and had been trying to shake me awake for almost 2 minutes.
Wow.
I was completely hysterical, had no idea what happened. My clothes weren't disturbed, my tip money was still in my apron, and there was almost no way anyone had been in the back all night. I was almost afraid I had been drugged, but right after this event I went to the doctor, no health insurance, so it's a big deal to me, and got checked out and had them give me an MRI since I was afraid I had a brain tumor or something that made me lose my mind. They suggested I speak to a psychologist. After that night, I had quit the job and never went back. Besides those horrible events, I loved working there and made a lot of friends, but I absolutely lost my mind. And once I left, I never felt any of those feelings or saw anything like that again.
Wow.
So, there you go.
Wow.
Spirits in the strip club.
Spirits and strip clubs. What more could a guy want? I don't even know.
I don't know if gosh, strip clubs when we were younger.
Yeah, I know.
But where I live, there's buses at 4 a.m. in the morning, 3:30. You can catch a bus from the bar. But and that way you could just get the heck out of Dodge after work if you're working somewhere like that.
Absolutely.
Could you imagine?
True. I don't know. I don't know. I imagine you probably see a whole spectrum of things working at a place like that.
Well, that's the truth.
I mean, really, and I mean that completely sincerely. I think you see maybe some amazingly kind and wonderful things, but I think you probably see just about the scraping the pan kind of stuff, of life. I'm sure you see just everything in between.
Yeah, no doubt.
But I bet you'll learn a lot about people, I would, I'm serious. I just think that, in places like that, if I was a psychologist student or something like that, I think I would go work someplace like that just to see that full spectrum of reality, because it can, be about as ugly as possible, and it could maybe be beautiful as well. Right. In some cases. I don't know.
The megaphone man says strip clubs need to be in Braille. There's our friend.
I can't even touch that. But thank you. I'm here all night. Actually, it was.
It's all Greek to me.
I guess so.
Oh no!
All right. So let's see.
I wouldn't want to touch anything in a strip club.
My grandpa sees spirits. All right. I have a couple of short stories. My grandfather tends to see spirits a lot. Him and my name, Nana is Italian for grandmother. Him and my Nana, rather, live in a house that was built in the 60s. They were the only people to ever live in that house. It had just been built shortly before they moved in. Apparently there is a guy in a cowboy hat who stands in the back of the hallway. He doesn't do or say anything. He just stands there. My grandpa, my uncle, and a few of my uncle's friends have all seen him. My Nana, my dad, or I have never seen him. Though when I was younger, I was always afraid to walk down the hallway. I'm not sure why, but for some reason it scared me. My grandparents still live there, although I haven't been to their house in years. The next time I go there, I hope to be able to see him. I don't know this story until this past Christmas, so maybe if I try to look for him, I might see him. I'm not sure if it will work, but it's worth a shot. Here's another short story about my grandpa, a spirit my grandpa saw. When my grandpa was around 15 or 16 years old, he saw his next-door neighbor walking down the street. He wanted to get her attention, so he kept calling her name. Phyllis, Phyllis, Phyllis. Turn around, Phyllis. He continued doing that for a while and then started walking up to her to try to get her attention. He couldn't get her to turn around, so he gave up and left. He went to Phyllis's house, where her mom answered, heartbroken. My grandpa said, I just saw Phyllis walking down the street, but no matter what I did, she wouldn't turn around. Her mom answered, Phyllis died about 2 hours ago. My grandpa thinks he saw her spirit crossing over. It was definitely her because he knew her for many years and saw her face before he started yelling at her to turn around.
Huh.
Wow.
Those are kind of sad stories.
They are, right? But, at the same time, you hope she's going someplace great. I don't know. It's it's one of those things. With some of these stories, you don't know
Right.
what the hell are people dealing with after all of this. Is it just this schizophrenic deal, or was she just being escorted and wasn't aware of his presence? I don't know.
That'd be crazy.
Right? Like, was she being walked by an angel down the street to the having a farewell tour kind of thing, or what? I don't know. And then there's, we were talking about cultural things. There are those cultures that believe, the spirit wanders for 3 days.
Right.
And then you bury, you have the ceremony after 3 days.
Right.
Because the spirit has to wander around and you have to cover the mirrors
Right.
with black cloth, things like that, so they don't get trapped,
Right.
et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But, you wonder what the truth is, because there's so many versions out there about what happens.
Right.
I just tend to defer to the the NDE stories that these are what people have experienced when they've been there and come back. It's like they're experiencing a tunnel, they're experiencing these wondrous meetings with relatives and loved ones or spiritual figures or whatever.
Right.
So pretty cool options, I guess. But what is left? And I don't know. Is there two deaths? Is there two essences to the spirit? One is the divine essence, and that's what people are experiencing. These NDEs are experiencing their divine essence returning home. And then there's, maybe an earthly essence or an earthly awareness.
You alluded to something like that.
Yeah.
Earlier.
Well, I think it's the Navajo
Mm-hmm.
that have a term for this second death, and they say that after 3 days, the negative stuff comes out of the body, but it's a spirit too.
Right.
And that's what can linger and can cause problems. So, do we all have that stuff? So, I don't know. And I guess the one thing I wonder with that. Okay, so if there is a dichotomy of our spirit, the divine self and or maybe problematic or less clean self, do the people that have this horrible experience when they die with these faces of horror, are they more aligned with that earthly self instead of their divine self? So the divine self returns home, but the people were more aligned with that earthly self.
That makes sense now that
relating
back to that earlier story.
Right.
Yeah.
And then so they're like, oh Christ, this sucks, You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, oh, this place, this is terrible. This isn't what I was expecting. So if you live a good and wonderful life and try to do as much good as you can in your life, and then when you die, you're aligned with that higher self. So of course you pass on to this light and wonder. But if you're aligned with this base earthly self that's just selfish and not worldly, is that where you remain? Your consciousness remains with that because that's what you aligned with.
Huh.
I don't know. Just food for thought.
That's really actually interesting, especially this one and this story and how it alluded into that, and the earlier story about the horrified look on Grandpa's face.
Right.
So, but now it makes a little more sense now that you say that about what you said about having a divine. Now that you said it, a divine spirit and an earthly spirit. And the horrible look of horror on the face after the second death, shall we say?
Mm-hmm.
But the first story we were alluding to, it was just after he died. It wasn't 3 days though.
Sure.
So maybe.
But that's what he's aligned
Yeah,
with.
yeah.
So that's maybe he's stuck with the body until that 3 days. You know.
Well, and plus, if they're all negative emotions, that's going to be a hellish 3 days.
Oh yeah, yeah.
But I mean, will what would be left to make things better? To say things are better now after that 3 days and the second death and the releasing of the negative energies. What would be left? You know what I mean?
Right. Well,
So what would make that? Because then the second death, the negative emotions, the negative spirit goes away, or is it in the emotions and then the earthly soul comes out and is relieved of that? Okay.
Or it comes out.
I'm answering my own damn questions.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, it happens,
Right.
But that's interesting.
That's just food for thought, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, again, we don't know.
Yeah.
But I just, that's one of the things I really love about the paranormal is it's the breadcrumbs. It's the breadcrumbs to the big picture.
Right.
What people are experiencing is little pieces of the puzzle. Mm-hmm. And as I read and learn and study more about it, I kind of getting a picture of the nature of reality, maybe, or at least some answers to some really, really difficult questions.
Right. Yeah.
I don't know. And I could be wrong about it all. I don't know. But, it's just things I put together as time goes on. So, ladies and gentlemen, I think that's about it for the portal tonight. What do you think, Don?
Yeah, I think I'm going to have to call it a night.
Well,
my brain's starting to skip. That's why I'm having these sudden pauses.
Yeah, well, it happens to the best of us.
Absolutely. Well, yeah, certainly to me at least.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be back again on Friday night. I'll see when we can reschedule with Shell Dion to get her back in for the Dogmen versus Wolf People episode. It's very interesting, her correlations and research into that. Just really interesting viewpoints and a whole different angle than what I'm familiar with. And, is it true or not? I don't know, but it's definitely, she definitely brings a whole new perspective to these curiosities. Absolutely. And these cryptids. So I will, of course, post on our Facebook page when I know more about when she's going to be back. But so if you haven't liked us on Facebook, please do, facebook.com/Paranormal Portal Radio. Mm-hmm. And please spread the word about our YouTube. We're looking for that 1,000 subs. We're looking for our first 1,000 subs. We're right knocking on the door. We're like 10 or 11 away. So, and again, spread the word. Paranormal Portal, Paranormal Portal. So youtube.com/Paranormal Portal on YouTube. So, and if you have an account of your own and would like us to read it on the air, please email it to
Paranormal Portal Radio
at
gmail.com.
Wow, teamwork. The teamwork is just seamless, ladies and gentlemen. We are like the Harlem Globetrotters of podcasting here.
What?
Like Meadow Lark Lemon, you're like Curly Neal.
Oh, God, yeah. Okay,
I'm just feeling
Why
it.
do I got to be the bald guy?
I don't know. All right, ladies and gentlemen.
Love y'all.
We love you. Be good, be kind, be nice. Take care of each other out there. And we'll be back on Friday night at 7 p.m., the new time. So don't miss it.
I will not be here, but I will see you on Saturday.
Yeah, that's right. You won't be here Friday, so unfortunately. But we'll have you back on Saturday and to complete the paranormal lineup. And we'll be back then, so look for us and
Buenos nachos.
Spread the word. We're looking for those subs on YouTube. So love y'all, and we'll see you Friday.
Bye-bye.
Adios, amigos.